May astrology, best astrology of the year. So much potential, so much good stuff. Yes, we've come out of eclipse season, very topsy-turvy, as eclipse seasons always are, very powerful total solar eclipse. Now we get to integrate and use the insights and things to be revealed. So much potential for so many reasons. And I'm going to explain how and why, and how we can not only use it for this month, but how the insights that we get are going to help us for the rest of the year and beyond, certainly into next year. The rest of the year, we've got some speed bumps coming up, we'll be honest, it's just how it is. However, with the proper knowledge, we can navigate anything. So I'm going to tell you in this video many things. One is how a major Hollywood movie, one of the greatest films, maybe some people say like the greatest or one of the greatest films ever made, and how it ties exactly into the messages that the universe is asking us, is giving us to grasp. So, yay, what an episode, right? For those of you who don't know me, my name's Irlianna Samsara, and this is episode 307 of StarSound Speaks. My practice is called StarSound Astrology. You can find me on starsoundastrology.com. I was trained in Hellenistic or traditional astrology, and I blend it with modern astrology. I use whole sign houses, and this is the tropical zodiac. If you'd like a session, more than happy to assist you. Just click on the link below. Also, if you like this content and want to see more of it, please do like, share, subscribe, and comment below. We love hearing from all of you and how you plan to use this month of May. So yes, hit that little subscribe button and the notification bell to get all the latest updates, and join my email list because I give away stuff and I've got free things and contests and all kinds of really cool things. So anyway, I hope to see you all there. All right, so back to this. May, we had not just eclipse season, but we had the epic historic Jupiter-Uranus conjunction in the sign of Taurus, which of course we've been waiting for ever since Uranus entered the sign of Taurus in May of 2018. It's been 6 years. They saved the best for last. Uranus and Jupiter, last time they were together, it was in the sign of Pisces, and it was like in 2011. So this is the next lineup. It's here we are. It just happened April 20th. And sometimes people think, all right, that it happened and it's over, but we have to think of it like, it's the name of that Holi, it's called, the Hindu religious festival in India. They have it every spring, all those bright colored pastel chalk, and they like explosion, throw it up in the air, and everybody gets coated in that, and it's so joyous. And so it's celebrating the vivaciousness, the vitality of life, because of course it's springtime, but we can do it now. Astrologically, it's like holy, especially the first part of the month, the first up until like the third week of May. We've got all these great lineups. We got Sun, Jupiter, we have Uranus, we have Venus, we have the new moon. So much emphasis in Taurus. We've got the new moon is going to be Venus alongside it, Uranus, Jupiter, right? So there's a huge, the moon is exalted in Taurus. The moon's got major dignity. Venus is in domicile. At the end of the month, Mercury will join in the Taurus party as well. Mars is in domicile in the sign of Aries. So there's a lot of strength and power to move forward all the promise that the eclipses gave us. What I love about this month is this is a Venus rule, right? Venus rules Taurus, and she's in her domicile. So this is a very beautiful, incredible month where we really get to revel and celebrate in life and love and pleasure and beauty. And let's face it, we need this, right? We just had this really intense eclipse season, right? So it's just so nice to lean into. When the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction happened, it's as if you hit it together. So Jupiter and Uranus line up and goes and diffuses. So the colors have exploded, and all the insights, think of Jupiter's revelations, the revelations that we have, the knowledge that we have, new revelations, maybe shocking realizations about things, long held beliefs and ideas that we've had, maybe things where we've been stuck for so long. Certainly, I've talked to you guys before about this healing trauma. Big opportunity, huge lifetime opportunity to heal trauma. So the Jupiter and Uranus conjunction, it's like now it's in the diffusion phase. So all those colors are scattered on the wind, and we're receiving those blessings landing on us and making us new and alive. Celebration. Thousands of people doing this in India, right? It's just this huge celebration. So this is kind of like the visual that I'm inviting you to carry with you as we move through this month. And like I said, you want to keep this. This is something that you want to hold in your heart as we move forward. And when we are meeting challenge ahead, and we have to go back to Taurus, the earth, we have to go back and to feel our senses. Where we are we now, being here now in the body, which leads me to da, 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 yes, folks, Gone with the Wind, 1939 classic, one of the greatest films ever made. Interesting that that book was written and the movie was made when Uranus was last in Taurus in the late 1930s. The plot, total Uranus and Taurus. In the beginning of the movie, she's just this impetuous, spoiled brat. She's privileged. She's had everything given to her. She's in this cozy little world. And of course, the war comes and her whole world is destroyed. And bitch has to grow up in a hurry, right? The blinders are taken off. And it's a very cold wake-up call about survival and about what it takes to survive, things that she never in her wildest dreams ever thought she would ever, and her family would ever have to go through. So the ravages of the war and reality, right? Big reality check. When everything is ripped away from you, who are you? There's a scene in the beginning of the movie with the father, with the Irish brogue, Gerald O'Hara. He calls her Katie Scarlett. She's upset about the whole dating game ritual and all these guys, these beaux. Which one is she going to pick? And she doesn't want to have to behave like the others, right? She goes running down the hill with her big poofy party dress. She looks like a wedding cake, you know, the skirt. And he has to give her some counseling. He picks up a lump of dirt in his hand and he holds it in her hand and he says, "You mean to tell me, Kitty Scarlett O'Hara, that Tara," right? That's the ancestral home is Tara, right? Which literally translates as earth. "That Tara, that land doesn't mean anything to you? Why, land is the only thing in the world worth working for, worth fighting for, worth dying for, because it's the only thing that lasts," right? So this is what he tells her. Now, I just want to stop right here and say, let's revise some of this work. When I say how important it is land, I'm not saying that you have to be a landowner, you know, billions of people are not on this planet, right? It doesn't mean that in order to have this breakthrough, it has really nothing to do with, quote, owning land in the traditional sense. I would, however, change that. I think the real meaning and the truth that I'm getting at here is it's not about owning land, but it's about owning the space that you take up on the planet. You owning you owning Taurus, your body, your senses, your self-worth. It's like, I belong here. Uranus conjunction with Jupiter, a revelation that, hey, you know what? I'm okay as I am. I belong here. I'm not Uranus disassociated or an outsider. I don't have to feel that way. I don't have to feel abandoned, even though trauma and abandonment may have happened to me earlier in my life. I don't have to hang on to that. That's not who I am. The revelation from Jupiter, this realization of how our magnificence, right? The God self, you could say, with Jupiter. Jupiter's name in the Vedic astrology is Guru, right? Guru, the knower of, the dispeller of darkness. So there's this blind spot that has come off. This is what Uranus and Jupiter together in the sign of Taurus are giving us. So here's Gerald O'Hara. Gerald O'Hara, the Hara. Hara is the will, the third chakra, the Manipura chakra, which is the will. Hara, right? Light, light. So the willpower, right? So this speaks so much to willpower. The father, I found this on one of those wiki fandoms. Gerald, the dad, was an Irish immigrant, and he was this kind of scruffy kind of guy. He made his fortune through pluck and determination, and he's being stubborn. Think of bullheaded, stubborn Taurus energy. skill and luck and no social graces, very determined. He's got a lot of gumption. So of course, Scarlett, she's the one that takes after the dad. Why am I saying all this? Because this is the invitation for this month and beyond, with and to get the realization and how important this is, this Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. Not only that is the biggest transit of the year, but it's like it's going to inform us for many, many years to come. So the upstart outsider, Gerald, and then Scarlett could care less about social graces. You know, she's always trying to fit into that corset thing. She's like hot and bothered by this damn thing, right? And dressing up and having to get a man. It was so South Node and Libra, right? Drop the social graces. Bottom line, here's the deal. He had nothing. He becomes wealthy. How does he become wealthy? Not from money in the bank. Wealth is now being determined by integrity, by courage, by resilience, by being plucky, by even impudence, right? Kind of sassy and cheeky, right? So these are, and determination. That is the whole Taurus way. I'm determined, I'm resilient, I'm sticking with it no matter what. You know how she loses everything after the war. Remember that scene where she's in the Atlanta, the whole world has gone to hell in a handbasket. The city of Atlanta is all on fire. And of course, that's when Melanie goes into labor, because this is a Hollywood movie. And so she's got to get Melanie back to Tara. She puts her in the cart, and the scared little slave girl, she starts crying. So she's got to deal with all this, right? And she's like, meanwhile, the horse is foaming at the mouth, and she's trying to make the horse go, and he like gives up. And she's like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Deus ex machina. Rhett Butler appears. He gets his horse to take him back to Tara. Moral of the story, when life looks really, really, really bleak, stay determined. You got this. You're going to have to pull reserves of resilience you didn't realize, right? Jupiter, it's like, holy moly, and Uranus, this realization that you have intelligence and reserves of pluckiness that you didn't know you had. And we're going to need this as we go forward in this year. Owning the space, owning who we are in the world, that I'm determined and I'm here. And it's not like out of arrogance. Jupiter can be arrogant. No, this is not arrogance. This is just the confidence and the optimism, knowing who we really are. So Scarlett loses everything. She becomes wealthy. Remember, she marries that guy. He owned the lumber mill. So she gets really wealthy because she's determined, like, I am going to get back home. I'm going to be rooted in my land, and I'll do anything. She steals the sister's fiance, right? So it's like she would do anything to get where she needed to be. She becomes wealthy through courage, determination, resilience. She's owning her space. Remember that scene too? She showed up, and Carol Burnett did a satire of it. She shows up with the outfit made out of the curtains, the draperies, the velvet, with the little fringy hat. And Carol Burnett's variety show in the 70s, I remember she still had the rod in the back, so she's got this rod hanging off her shoulders. If you have to make an outfit out of a drape, it's like, I will do whatever I need to do to realize my goals. So how perfect is that? Written with Uranus and Taurus. Here we are again. Why is this important? The money system, everything fell apart in the war, right? Well, I don't know if you know this, but I just found out today that we just had a $10 billion bank failure by the US regulators, the first bank failure of 2024. I knew something was going to happen with the financial markets. I think the reason why we haven't heard it is, you got to remember, Mars, the ruler of the eclipse, was until Tuesday, April 30th, it's in the sign of Pisces. So hush, right? Hush and secretive and not known. Also just news that's maybe confusing or just kind of shadowed away, but we'll certainly be seeing more of this. And so here it's like, look, what happens if you have identified yourself and your Taurus values, is everything is like the money you own, the money you have, the possessions you own. What happens if all that's taken away? Just like Scarlett O'Hara, who are you when you don't have any of that? When you don't identify with that? What are your values? When bad stuff happens, you start realizing a lot of things. And let me tell you, years ago, I lost my house in the mortgage crisis. Huge, my life just totally blew up. It was horrendous. I can't even begin to tell you. I realized how little I really needed, what was really, really, really essential. Like when I was already living on what I thought was pretty essential, then I went to a whole nother level of what does it really take to survive? What does it really take to move forward? The things we really thought we absolutely couldn't live without, like I was like, whoa, I was so surprised. Like I didn't need all these things that I really, really thought I needed. So that trauma of losing my home and having to go through bankruptcy. I mean, I had like an 800 credit rating. It was like crazy, right? So I kind of had my own little like Scarlett O'Hara experience where everything was taken from me. Did I dress up with a curtain rod through my bed? Almost. It's just, yeah, almost. Yeah. I remember not buying a pair of new shoes. I did not buy a pair of shoes for 7 years. I was so traumatized. That was before Uranus went into Taurus. Yeah, it was intense. I share this with you because look, I'm still here. So I don't know. I look back and I'm like, I don't know how the hell I made it through. I have no idea what happened, like how I was supported. Astrology had not presented itself yet. It was years before that would show up. So I was in this huge, what the Tibetans call a bardo. I was like in between life stations, and it was scary as hell. But what I'm saying is there's pluck. I had pluck and determination. I had no choice, right? Like a Scarlett O'Hara, she had no choice. She had to keep going. The horse is foaming at the mouth. It's like, you got to keep going. I think we can all relate to that, especially having gone through COVID. It's like, oh my God, especially if you were an EMT or a nurse or a doctor in hospitals, medical, but all of us, we all went through that hell. And it's like, holy cow, we just hope we never have to do that again. But it certainly showed us our resilience, where we had it and where we didn't have it, and where we needed to grow, and what we needed to let go of. But now we have it, we're in a new place now. There was another article I read that something like 80% of the banks are now ready to roll out CBDCs, stands for central bank digital currency. Uranus and Taurus, digital currency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, like all of these digital currencies and digital, financial system undergoing this huge Uranian paradigm shift, very much divorced from the past. So that can also be a very, very discomforting or kind of scary, right? When the things that you've always relied on are like, boom, no longer there. Think scarlet, right? Get your scarlet on, because we're going to need that coming into the summer. We'll certainly be challenged. I really want to invite all of us to revel in nature, revel in what we have, and the beauty and the pleasures and the simplicity of life lived on the land in nature. Like nature gives us so much, and so much of our life we're like this with our head down, scrolling on the phone. It's like, get off the phone and go outside and put your feet on the ground and look up at the sky. Look up at the constellations. Don't just like look on a screen, like go out there and see the real thing. So this is the invitation to break with old ways, break with being stuck with Uranus technology, right? There are other realms of intelligence that are waiting when we are embodied when we are in our bodies here and now. Uranus wants us here and now. Be here now. Several years ago, a friend of mine asked our teacher, he said, where do you go when you ascend? It's a great question, right? Where do you go when you ascend? It's ascension, expansion of consciousness is how I've come to understand ascension. When I was Catholic growing up, it's like Jesus ascended, and you'd see these pictures of him like floating off into the sky. It's like, oh my God. And the apostles were like, oh, it was like, okay, well, that was Jesus, right? But like, what about us? Well, expansion of consciousness. Well, what did she say? The answer was, you go right here. Okay. Like, it's not out there. It's not her though. It is not. I lived in Sedona for about 5 years back in the 90s. Okay. Some of these people, God bless them, no judgment, just saying that like couldn't figure out where the next sandwich was coming from. And they're like, oh, ascension and light and love and da, 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 da. And they thought they would just go float off into the whatever land. And I remember seeing this poster, this image of this there's like a girl, she kind of looked like a little fairy, and underneath the poster it said ascension, and it was this sweet little girl, and she was like stepping off with one foot on the ground and one floating like stairway to heaven without a stairway. La. I was like, wait a minute. And I remember just looking at that going, okay, it's not really how it is. But it's okay. We don't know until we know. But ascension is not right. I think once you are fully here and now, then you can go, that you can float up, you could do anything. But that picture did not describe what had to occur before that could happen, right? So it's like, oh, okay, be here now. Ram Dass has been saying it since the 60s. Be here now, physical, in the body. That is the path of action. That is the path that opens everything. That is how we release the trauma. That is, the expansion of consciousness happens by being here now. We can, rooted in nature and pleasure and beauty and all things Taurian in this Taurus season happening. The sun's going to be there till around the 20th of May. So all these planets speaking to us the Taurus language, right? The Venus and their domicile, the sun, moon, Venus, Uranus, Jupiter is like, okay, smell the flowers, rediscover your senses. And I say with Uranus too, the understanding as it diffuses that colored chalk, that realization landing on all of us and filtering like this chalk falling onto our face and our clothing, and it's just bathing us in this realization. It's like saying, we can receive these higher dimensions of intelligence. First of all, like, I didn't know that, but guess what? There are higher dimensions of the senses, Taurus, than the 5 senses that we know of. And when we engage with nature fully in our bodies, freed from trauma, well, the very act of being in nature like that, is the healing balm that allows and opens these doors to higher dimensions of intelligence. Huge depression problem on the planet right now. We all need to help each other, be a stand for each other, work on ourselves. In doing so, a rising tide lifts all boats, right? I read that people who literally had hands, not gardening with gloves on, but like literally getting your hands dirty. So Jupiter and Taurus, right? This was the year, get your hands dirty. Keep on, even it goes into Gemini. You know what? We really have to keep our hands dirty. Gemini, oh my God. Peter Pan hanging from a chandelier, right? It's a lot of air. It's like, whew. But anyway, the microbes in dirt are actually very healing for depression. When we are in that freer state, then these higher intelligences, which are all around us, can start coming through. I remember in the 70s, ESP, that was the big thing. Extrasensory perception. Do you know what ESP is? Do you have ESP? That was, you don't hear this anymore. I'm dating myself terribly. I know. It's all right. I don't care. But yes, ESP. So there's Uranus and Taurus, right? Extrasensory perception. There are worlds waiting to be discovered. Reconnect with this larger picture of what is our innate intelligence, and what can we and how can we embody more of that. That's what's available this month. Now with this new moon is so powerful, because now these planets are getting to greet Uranus in a different way. Now that Jupiter has gone over Uranus, it's bringing another level of dimension of intelligence, an expanded level of consciousness. And so there's much, much to celebrate here. Healing trauma, healing abandonment issues. This is a great, great time. With that total solar eclipse was conjunct Chiron, and so it's so deep, and Mars being in Pisces, you know, is a deep emotional healing and forgiveness, so much rich material there. And again, Uranus and Taurus and Jupiter inviting us to improve our lives by somatic releasing, you know, with our bodies, releasing, physically touching and releasing. All those wonderful practitioners on YouTube, they're like all over the place. You can just do somatic or trauma release, and you can see all these great folks. I know one has a funny name, very memorable, Crappy Childhood Fairy. I love that. In terms of quick calendar run here. So May 7th, we've got the new moon. May 12th, 13th, depending on your time zone, we've got the sun and Uranus making a conjunction, right? So the sun steps up. It's like, hello, sun, hello, Uranus. We're shining a light on weirdness and things out of the box. Mercury joins the Taurus party by the middle of the month, May 15th. The sun, it will have, after meeting up with Uranus, then the sun will meet up in a cazimi. So the sun-Uranus conjunction is a Uranus cazimi, the sun, right? So there's a lot of illumination happening around that, around our uniqueness and revelations, shining a light on what does it take to be free. We'll get some new perspectives. Then May 18th, we have a Jupiter cazimi. So the sun and the Jupiter will be getting together in the throne room of the sun, having its special messages. You know, it's like the high priestess, earth goddess, the shamanic, the Gabrielle Roth energy, right? Is the goddess of earth and sensuality and knowledge, the knowledge that comes from this deep earth connection. May 18th, cazimi. 28 degrees of Taurus, very late stage there. It's also very close to Algol. I'll be talking more about that in the future because it's going to come up really strong over the summer. Mars, Algol, and Uranus meet up. I would say here, where we have been cutting off our head, cutting off our head from our body, our head from our heart, our sensuality, where has that been stymied and stifled and traumatized, and the ability to reconnect with all that is very powerful. Venus will be joining the party. Venus, the lesser benefic, goddess of love, inner domicile conjunct Uranus, more breakthroughs around relationships. Who do you love? Who have you shut out? Where have you abandoned love? Where have you abandoned your own self-worth? There's like all these really rich stuff this month. Venus will then conjunct Jupiter. So the two benefics, one in domicile, the conjunct is got to be a lot of chocolate. I already see the chocolate on sale. Dr. Bronner's my favorite. Oh my God, I love it. Coconut praline, the best. After that, it will ingress into Gemini. Venus will start being, and Venus is going to behave, Sun, Venus, Mercury, all going to behave differently in Gemini. Jupiter is going to behave differently. Goes into the air element. So that's light and fun, and it's more mind-driven, intellect, mind, social, buzzy, whole different shift of energy as we get into like the 20th into later in the month. We have our full moon, 2 degrees of Sagittarius. That'll be around May 23rd. Mars, the ruler of the North Node, will be in domicile for the entire month of May. So Mars is very strong in the month of May. And he is the North Node ruler, and he's in his home base now. He's out of the hush, quiet Piscean thing, and he's now loud and out and big. And so when Mars conjuncts a solar eclipse, you see things happen, action that gets taken. And so this is something you're going to see. It's going to translate all the Aries Libra eclipses that we've been having for the last year as it marches through the various degrees of Aries. The total solar eclipse one that just happened on April 8th, he will hit that point, 19 degrees, 24 minutes on, again, depending on your time zone, but it'll be around May 25th. So the end of May. So watch for some insights and action. Mars is like, I want stuff done. Move it, speak it, act on it. The emotional healing, all the insights that we've received from the total solar eclipse. Now it's time to get on your horse. Jupiter begins the month in Taurus and then, of course, ends in Gemini. Big transit up there with Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. Well, Jupiter's going to go into Gemini, and about every 11 to 12 years, Jupiter comes around again to the same sign. It takes about a year to go through a sign, so it'll now be in Gemini and it'll start May 25th. Mutable air sign. So he goes from fixed Earth to mutable air. I have two really great guests lined up to talk about this. You're going to love it. This is going to be awesome. So that'll be at the end of the month. As soon as it does, boom, it makes a trine with Pluto, early degrees of Aquarius. So that's a whole nother, so we're going to talk about that in that podcast episode. So stay tuned. Remember, hit that subscribe button and you will stay up to date on all these events and important things and how they translate into our personal evolution and what we see in the collective too. Jupiter's going to make 3 squares with Saturn over the next year. So that'll be part of that conversation. But again, I'm just kind of giving you a little heads up here. And we finish the month. Mercury zips up and says hello to Uranus. Mercury, Uranus, they have some quirky, weird conversation. Talking with aliens. Yes, of course. But officer, his spaceship crashed and it's right up there. I'm just trying to give him a ride home. Oh, that's right. It's not from around here. Anyway, that's what May looks like. Did I forget anything? These next 3 weeks, get out that green velvet dress made with fringe, connect and presence our pluckiness and determination, regardless of whatever's going on out in the world. One thing is for certain, we belong here. I will just end by saying there are 2 things that I'm seeing for the year ahead, speed bumps. And they involve weather and they involve health. Mars is like, yes, be courageous, be passionate, be proactive. That's what he's going to be knocking on our door with this month. Really important that we get our health together, exercise, sleep, building our immune system, all the things we're going to need. You don't have to be thrown around like Scott Arrow was not thrown around, the hell came for her and it burned down Atlanta. And she's like, I'm not stopping. And I don't care what is going on in the world. We can own who we are in the face of toughness and challenge. And so if there's any message I can leave with you today, it's that. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you got value out of it. Let me know in the comments below. Book a session if you need to. We get deep into exactly what medicine, quote unquote, is the best for you to overcome challenges in your chart, not just psychologically, but practices you can do to create the best movement, the best life, remedies that will assist you on your path, especially when you go through those speed bumps. So all for now, big love and see you very, very soon. This is Irlianna Samsara, StarSound Speaks, starsoundastrology.com. Namaste.